Antarctica, the land of mysteries buried under centuries-old permafrost. In the past 50 years or so, people have frequently reported strange pyramid-shaped structures, mysterious entrances leading deep into the eternal ice, or unusual flying objects. These unusual events recorded in the past have led to countless questions that are hard to answer about the coldest place on Earth. There are people who have gone to Antarctica and seen things they weren't supposed to see. Clearly, there's something hidden beneath the ice that we still don't know about. Could it be the remnants of an ancient civilization that once flourished, a secret base of extraterrestrials? Or a place where unimaginable research takes place between humans and otherworldly beings? All will be revealed in the video below. Terrifying mysteries beneath Antarctica's ice. In November 1995, a U.S. Navy pilot named Brian and his crew were flying a C-130 aircraft around the Mary Birdland region at an extremely low altitude. This area is located in the southern part of Antarctica, where 15 scientists were working and conducting research. The C-130 approached the Antarctic base from another base called McMurdo, located a few hundred kilometers to the east. The reason for this mission was the mysterious disappearance of the scientists working there. The scientists were supposed to communicate with McMurdo Station daily and report their research results. But in the past few days, there had been no signals at all. All the scientists involved came from prestigious national scientific organizations, and their disappearance would have serious consequences. In fact, the area they were researching has extremely harsh weather conditions, with no dangerous predators around, so it's almost impossible that they left the base due to an attack. Even when going outside for research tasks, they could not survive for more than an hour without protective gear. The plane circled tighter and tighter to ensure it did not miss any areas while searching for the scientists. Despite the good weather and optimal visibility, no trace was found. Finally, the C-130 landed, and the rescue team was ordered to check the base. Typically, when a large, noisy aircraft like a transport plane lands at the base, at least a few people would come out to observe, but this place now seemed abandoned. The scientists had only arrived about a week ago. In the supply storeroom, there was enough food, water, and even snacks for over a month. Yet now, they had vanished without a trace. The food and personal belongings showed no signs of being stolen or destroyed. The rescue team went to the control room to check the communication equipment. Strangely, everything was functioning normally, and they even used the same equipment to report back to McMurdo. No one was found, and there were no bodies. Everything seemed normal, and there were no signs of conflict. The rescue team returned to the aircraft and headed back to McMurdo Station. Before leaving, the plane still flew in expanding circles to make sure nothing was missed. Antarctica is a dangerous place. Every year, people go missing or lose their lives there. No one is absolutely safe in such a harsh environment. While everyone was discussing how to search for the mysteriously missing scientists, they suddenly reappeared more than a week later. The rescue team and the C-130 received an urgent order to return to McMurdo Station. The people who had returned sent out distress signals and screamed that they wanted to get out of there. What had happened? In today's world, Antarctica is the most isolated place on Earth. Human research activities have only touched a small part of the continent, with up to 98% of it still unexplored. No one knows what is buried beneath those several kilometers of thick ice. But despite the harsh conditions and limited access, recent discoveries point to clear signs of high-tech extraterrestrial activity and undiscovered ancient civilizations in the area. Many recent satellite images show pyramid-like structures emerging through the ice. Some believe that these pyramids are part of a network that supplied energy to the entire world, similar to the Great Pyramid of Giza in Egypt. Over 90 million years ago, Antarctica was a lush and fertile land. This is undisputed, but scientists have also confirmed that it froze over and became uninhabitable around 12 million years ago. So, who built these pyramids? First, take a look here. This is the Piri Reis map, drawn in 1818, where the location that should be Antarctica is blank and without any markings. This means that Antarctica was completely unknown before then and did not even exist on Earth according to most people. However, older maps depict Antarctica accurately and show that it wasn't always the massive icy continent it is today. According to these maps, Antarctica was a fertile land with vegetation as rich as any other part of the world. Is this real or not? This is the mysterious map from the 16th century, accurately showing the northern coast of Antarctica before it was covered in ice. It's difficult to explain how humans could have known the geography of this continent when they didn't have modern surveying tools like we do today. Like many other ancient mysteries, it is believed that there once existed an ancient civilization in Antarctica long ago. The existence of prehistoric civilizations in Antarctica has gained attention from historians since after World War II. This hypothesis can be supported by medieval maps and several geological and physical studies. In 1929, an ancient map drawn on gazelle skin was found, showing very different geographic locations compared to what we know today. The author of the map depicted the northern coast of Africa, the southern part of South America, and the northern coast of Antarctica in great detail. This map is known as the permafrost map. The permafrost map is one of the most intriguing and mysterious artifacts in the history of cartography. It is a world map drawn on gazelle skin by Turkish admiral and cartographer permafrost in 1513. The map astonished people with its accuracy and detail, particularly in regions that were largely unexplored or unknown at the time. Because of this, the map has been the subject of much debate for nearly a century. And as mentioned, the map shows Antarctica before it was officially discovered. Thus, many speculate that this map may reveal ancient secrets of lost civilizations on our planet. Permafrost was an outstanding naval officer and a skilled cartographer of the Ottoman Empire. He was born around 1465 or 1470 in Gallipoli, a port city on the strait. Permafrost also had a great interest in geography and cartography. He collected numerous maps and charts from various sources, including Europe, Arabia, China, and India. He also interviewed sailors, merchants, and travelers who had visited many places around the world and used that information to compile his own maps and books on navigation and geography. In 1513, he completed his most famous work, the World Map. This map was based on about 20 different sources, some ancient and some contemporary. He claimed to have used a partial copy of a map by Christopher Columbus, which has now been lost, as well as maps from Portuguese, Spanish, Arab, and Indian cartographers. The map seems to describe South America accurately and in detail, while also including annotations in Ottoman Turkish and Arabic. The map was later studied by many scholars and experts, who were astonished by its quality and accuracy. What is strange is not only how Admiral Permafrost could accurately map the region of Antarctica 300 years before its discovery, but the focus of the question lies in why the map depicts Antarctica before it was covered by ice. In 1949, a scientific expedition of British and Swedish scientists conducted a survey of the southernmost region of the continent through a 1.6 kilometers thick ice sheet. The results confirmed that the part of Permafrost's map representing Queen Maud Land was absolutely accurate when compared to data obtained through seismic methods. This proves that the coastline was mapped before it was covered by ice. Coincidentally, the Permafrost map was also drawn using the method of defining the globe according to meridians and parallels. However, historically, the first map of the Earth using this method was drawn by John Harrison from England in 1761. So, does this mean that over 600 years ago, people already knew the Earth was spherical? Mainstream science always asserts that the ice covering the surface of Antarctica is about 1 million years old, with the entire northern part of the continent being depicted that way before it was covered by ice. From this, it could be inferred that the map was drawn 1 million years ago. However, this is difficult to explain because humans did not yet exist at that time. So, could the Permafrost map have been assembled from the work of a civilization we have never known? In the book Maps of the Ancient Sea Kings published in 1979, Professor Charles Hapgood stated that the Permafrost map drew from sources such as maps by the Minoans and Phoenicians, peoples known for having excellent seafaring navigators. These maps were preserved in the libraries of Alexandria and Constantinople. During the Fourth Crusade in 1204, these maps were brought back to Europe. According to Hapgood, these included maps of the Americas, Antarctica, and the Southern Ocean. It is truly remarkable that people in ancient times could depict Antarctica before it was frozen, and how they could measure it so accurately on maps. From the story of the Piri Reis map, a hypothesis arose that there may have been civilizations with a high level of technological development that have since disappeared. In 1953, a Navy officer sent the map to the U.S. Army Map Service for measurement and comparison with modern maps. They concluded that the Piri Reis map had absolute accuracy and could only have been measured using satellite positioning methods. Thus, there is the possibility that a civilization existed tens of thousands of years ago, thriving with advanced technology before Antarctica was buried under thick layers of ice kilometers deep. And now, the question we face is even more complex. Where did they go? Piri Reis is not the only strange map related to Antarctica in the history we know. In 1737, Philippe Boichet published a map bearing his name, the Boichet map. This French geographer of the century drew a map that depicted Antarctica very clearly and in great detail, but it also included some controversial information. First, Philippe Boichet's Antarctica was shown as two separate landmasses, surrounded by highly detailed coastlines. However, the map was considered incorrect because Antarctica, as revealed by modern scientific exploration, does not resemble what Philippe Boichet had drawn. Even the original name of Boichet's map is of great interest, as Philippe Boichet suggested it was necessary to clearly define the location of this area on the world map. It wasn't simply called Antarctica. Some documents have translated the original French title of Boichet's map into English as the geographical map of the southern lands situated between the Tropic of Capricorn and the South Pole, where the great discoveries of 1739 would usher in a new era for the world. The lack of clarity regarding the year of publication has also raised doubts about the map. While most believe Philippe Boichet completed the map and made it public in 1737, the map itself records the publication date as September 3, 1739, corresponding with the title Boichet gave his own map. No one has yet explained what the two-year discrepancy signifies for the Boichet map. Regarded as a pioneer in professional cartography in the early 18th century, Philippe Boichet created a map that clearly divided the structures of various regions while opening new avenues for geological research. He combined geological knowledge, in-depth studies, and the resources of explorers and missionaries of the time, with daily astronomical observations, to infer the geographical layout of different parts of the world. Some of the maps he produced were also consistent with modern research findings, such as the existence of Alaska or the Bering Strait. However, his approach sparked much heated debate in academic circles, with critics arguing that it was too time-consuming, delved too deeply into details, required complex survey methods with extensive manpower, and would be inefficient when too little data was available. While the original Boichet map Boichet 1.0 remains mysterious, experts were surprised to discover a version 2.0. With the appearance of French inscriptions on this second Boichet map, some speculated or doubted its authenticity. Some believe that the above materials suggest Philippe Boichet was redrawing his assumptions about the terrain of Antarctica. It is highly likely that Philippe Boichet referenced older maps and information collected from explorers about the phenomenon of massive drifting icebergs in the southern hemisphere, leading him to believe in the existence of a distant continent in the far south. Returning to the story at the beginning of the video. This time, Brian's C-130 rescue team was mobilized to return to Mary Butland to pick up the scientists who had just come back. When they arrived, they saw that everything had been packed up, and the scientists were rushing towards the plane as if something would kill or torture them if they didn't leave immediately. The scientists boarded the plane in absolute silence. No one exchanged a single word, not even the smallest conversation. Even when the flight crew asked what had happened, no one was willing to speak. During the 2-hour flight, the silence was suffocating. When the C-130 landed, the scientists were informed they would be transferring to another plane, but for some reason, they seemed unwilling to move. Someone had to board the plane and buckle their seatbelts and escort them off, one by one. These individuals had surely witnessed something and were experiencing extreme PTSD. According to our current understanding, post-traumatic stress disorder (PTSD) is a collection of responses that may occur in people who have experienced or witnessed a traumatic event that threatened their life or safety. This could include a car accident or other serious accident, an assault, a sexual attack, a crime, events related to war or torture, or a natural disaster such as a wildfire or flood. Most people who experience trauma will have post-traumatic reactions. However, for some, these reactions do not subside after a few days or weeks but continue, disrupting their lives. Thus, our scientists stepped onto the second plane like zombies and then disappeared from there. Their research equipment was placed in a large storage facility and locked up extremely securely. The rescue team was ordered not to enter under any circumstances. All other equipment from Antarctica was quickly quarantined and sealed until it could be transported to another location. At the time, no one knew that the equipment would be transferred from the Patterson Air Force Base in Ohio. And if you're not aware, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base is known for storing classified documents related to unidentified flying objects (UFOs) and evidence of UFO sightings since 1947 until 1969. Brian's rescue team was called into the commander's office, where two men in civilian clothes had just arrived from Washington, D.C. They warned the entire crew not to disclose this incident to anyone, including family members. No scientists were missing, there was no rescue mission, and nothing they had just experienced was real. The crew members were all fine. This wasn't the first time they had been forced into silence. In that very room, about 10 years earlier, something similar had happened to Brian. But that meeting wasn't about the equipment or people on the surface. It was about what the crew members had seen deep underground. In 2003, a Navy SEAL team was deployed from McMurdo Station to the glacier region. According to the official report, they were on a routine reconnaissance mission, as previously scheduled. In reality, it was an escort mission for scientists to gather additional research information and ensure their safe return to the base. The Navy SEAL team leader, codenamed Spartan 1, made it very clear to all team members that this research was extremely important, and that at all costs, even if it meant sacrificing the entire team's lives, they had to protect the scientists. The escort team fully agreed but felt that this was an excessive demand. They saw these scientists as just one of many other scientists gathering information in Antarctica. That was true, but it wasn't the whole truth. The escort team neared the landing point. They saw the top of a black octagonal structure protruding from the thick snow. The team escorted the scientists to a massive door, towering several meters high, with strange carvings above it. Some thought the carvings resembled a star map. Additionally, on the door was a triangle with two diagonal lines crossing through its center. This symbol has appeared in many ancient cultures throughout history. As the Navy SEAL team entered, and the door closed behind them, everything fell silent. Spartan and his team took quite some time to traverse the hallway. The walls emitted a soft blue light, eerie yet calming. The walls were also covered in numerous strange symbols, similar to Egyptian hieroglyphs. When the scientists asked their guide how large the area was, the answer was 2.7 million square meters, equivalent to the size of a small country. The entire space was vast, buried deep beneath the perpetual ice, and this was only one of many such structures across Antarctica. At that time, the massive door was the only known entrance to the facility. However, years later, other entrances were discovered, and the only way to access them was by using large submarines. By traveling beneath the ice, submarines could advance several kilometers deep into Antarctica. In 1980, Brian and his crew completed countless missions to Antarctica, usually to resupply research stations and transport cargo or personnel. One day, however, a special mission changed everything. Brian received word that his crew was preparing for the most urgent emergency transport possible. A scientist had been injured at the Davis station, across from McMurdo. After the McMurdo medical staff were mobilized, they received orders to travel across the mountains and through Antarctica. Brian and the crew flew straight over a top-secret air sampling station with a restricted no-fly zone above it. However, What Brian remembered most was not the danger of that flight but what he saw while flying. A hole over 90 meters wide was exposed in the ice right next to that top-secret air sampling station. Clearly, a lot of activity had been happening there for many years. Brian and the crew couldn't explain why such a massive ice hole existed in that location. After safely returning the patient to McMurdo, the crew, as usual, was summoned to the command office. Inside the room was an officer they had never seen before. The officer asked them about their decision to violate the no-fly zone that Brian and his crew had just crossed. Of course, the crew explained that they had no better option, as taking another route would have resulted in the patient's death. The officer began pacing slowly, thinking. Eventually, they decided not to press charges, under the condition that Brian's team would be placed under strict surveillance to ensure no secrets were leaked. Even though Brian never signed a non-disclosure agreement, he felt uneasy about it. He had completed hundreds of missions in Antarctica, seen UFOs, and witnessed strange things so frequently that it became almost routine. Brian agreed with the officer and didn't think much more about the giant ice hole until a few months later. While on another mission, Brian overheard some people talking about the mysterious air sampling station and the massive ice hole. They spoke about trips to the area to meet some special guests. Curious, he approached and asked them about these guests. Those people not only told Brian that the guests were not human, but they also revealed that the hundreds-meter-wide hole was an entrance to a secret base. At that base, humans were working with extraterrestrials on a special project. We, specifically, were learning everything from them. Sometimes, human scientists even volunteered themselves as test subjects for research purposes. Could it be that the scientists rescued from Mary Birdland had also been used as test subjects for research? If that's true, it's easy to imagine the terrifying things they must have endured. Perhaps that's why, when given the chance, they screamed and were desperate to go home. There are countless strange stories about Antarctica, too many to cover in the scope of a short video. If you want to dive deeper into one of today's stories or any other, let me know in the comments section of this video. I know that stories about Antarctica always seem vague and lack the necessary credibility. However, as long as the Earth still exists, humanity will continue to explore. Learning new things is never wasted on anyone. Thank you so much for joining and supporting this video today. Goodbye, and see you in the next video. Wishing everyone a great day with your family.